Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the exciting live conversation on Evolved Landscape of Learning Return to Workplace Strategy, curated by Economic Times, ETHRWorld, and Skillsoft. My name is Soumya, and I'm going to be your host for today's session. A pressing priority for organizations is to look at reimagining their skilling needs to welcome the workforce in an orchestrated manner. Nearly 50% of organizations plan to prioritize learning strategies to keep up with the changing environment and preferences of modern learners. Today, we've come together with a powerful panel to share, reflect, and co create the return to workplace strategy in an evolved and dynamic landscape of learning. So, without any further ado, I'm elated to welcome the dynamic panel of speakers for this intriguing and a super promising session. Please put your hands together for Rajiv Sinha, Corporate HR, Learning and Development, Larsen and Tobro, Rekha Narendra, VP and HR Head India, Real Page, Sunny Verma, Group Head, Learning and OD, JBM Group, and Divyesh Sindhwad, Regional Vice President, Skillsoft, as the session moderator. And also for our audience, please park your questions for the end of the session. We've budgeted time for it and would surely try and find answers for all of them. I'm now going to pass the frame to Divyesh to lead the discussion. Over to you, Divyesh.
Thank you so much, Soumya. It's really great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, ETHR. And welcome to all our guests who are attending this virtually. So as we emerge from the pandemic, every organization is facing a unique scenario in terms of returning employees to the workplace. And in between these times, we have seen that HR's role has been pretty constant. If you look at from a return to workplace point of view, it's quite clear that the challenge here isn't necessarily only the operational aspect of it. It's more a human challenge. And, per se, if you look at it, starting from the focus around employees' well-being, health and safety, which has been paramount over the last 2 years, to the fact that workplaces have evolved tremendously over the last 2 years. Okay. And honestly speaking, we are never going to go back to the old ways of doing things, right? Adding to these changes are the challenges around skills. I was looking at a recent World Economic Forum report, and what it said is that there is a seismic shift in terms of the skills that are required and the roles that are going to emerge in the future. In specific, there are 85 million jobs which are going to be redundant by 2025, and there are 97 million new roles which are expected to come up in the same time frame. Now, given these predictions, it's hardly surprising that reskilling, upskilling are the top watchwords for 2022. And coming to our topic today, landscape of learning, it's continuously evolving. To discuss more on this, I have an excellent panel of experienced speakers with me today. And I'm really excited that together we are going to jump in, dive deeper, and try and answer some of these questions around how can organizations prepare and navigate these challenges as they bring back their workforce and prepare for the next phase of growth for their organizations. So without further ado, welcome again, Rekha, Rajiv, and Sunny. And coming to my first question, I'll start with you, Rajiv. How do you see in your experience, the composition of essential skills transforming as organizations begin this strategic return to the workplace?
Thank you, Devesh, and honor to be here first. And coming to your question, there are a few points you said about that World Economic Forum, WEF has listed. Actually, they keep on publishing reports every year or every alternate year. So sometimes back, I was going through the report Skills of 2015, and then there is a report on Skills of 2020. And if you compare the skills between 15 and 20, and during that period, what happened, which we are seeing, very few are listed there actually. So yes, all the situation is evolving, and we all are guessing only what will happen next. Coming in on your question, and last 2 years, we all have seen such a dramatic change. Probably dramatic word also is a very lesser word, I will say. but the kind of change we have seen and the type of skills requirement which in this new scenario we are looking or we expect actually. So I will broadly divide in three parts the kind of skills, or three buckets, I will say, the kind of skills probably will be needed for the workforce. One bucket I will put as a engage bucket. The skills related to engagement. It is the team collaboration. It is the managing the remote team, keep motivating those remote teams, online collaboration, team management, where the engagement aspect is very much important. And these kind of skills are very much important or going to be important in the time which we are actually living. The second bucket which I will put is the more action-oriented bucket or the ACT bucket, because the kind of disruptions we have seen, actually no one has actually could have guessed. Actually, based off the best risk management system, no organization would have guessed that these kind of things will happen. So what kind of leaders actually we are looking, or what kind of manager we are looking? We are looking for those kind of managers who can think on their feet actually. And thinking on feet and then acting, that requires the skills which is related to critical thinking or the complex problem solving or managing disruptions, resilience. These kind of skills will be very much important for the leaders who can act on their feet or think on their feet, I will say. And third stack I will put is the technology stack, which will be more for the frontline manager, frontline people, or maybe the managers also. All kind of new digital technology we are seeing, which is AI, ML, the blockchain, even the metaverse, all these things are coming. And these are going to be a big way, the new kind of jobs which is getting created because of these new technologies. So that technical skills will be the another one. I will be more focus on the softer side. Technical skill has their own space in the whole thing. So engage bucket and the act bracket. These two bracket I will put that these are the skills which are required, or that is the direction where the organization will be moving. I will stop here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And I definitely agree. Those three bucket concept around engage, act, and technology, those are the critical areas. And I think it's very smart because everything that organizations should be focusing on would fit into one of the three buckets that you just highlighted. And on the subject of actually returning back to work and all of those, while I'll go back to Rekha and Sunny for their comments in terms of what you have shared with us, I would also want to look at this opportunity out of my own curiosity to understand how many of the people attending this are actually attending this virtually from their home, or are they working out of office? What's the scenario? What percentage of people would have actually started going back to work and on a daily basis and all of this? So I would request Soumya and team, if you could start the poll while I continue the conversation with maybe Rekha. Would you want to add in terms of what are you seeing from a composition of essential skills change as people come back to a little bit of more normalcy in terms of working from office and all of this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Devesh. First of all, great to be here and great to, interact with my co-panelists also. I think Dr. Rajiv has already thrown a lot of light, on the composition of the essential skills. I want to touch upon a couple of, other aspects too. First of all, this whole conversation about essential skills, why is it so crucial in the current environment? We all are dealing with this phenomenon called the Great Resignation, right? You talk to any HR leader today, I think that seems to be the biggest challenge that we are grappling with. And there are many, many tactics and interventions being discussed on how to handle this and how to deal with this. But what's really important is that as organizations and as leaders, we need to create that environment which engages with the employees and which binds the employees to the organization. Right. And for that, we have to be able to show that career path, show that career progression within the organization, show the skill progression within the organization, show them that as the times change, the organization is helping them to upskill themselves and stay relevant in this changed landscape. And that's the reason why this whole conversation that we're having today is so crucial and so essential. And I really wanted, to just, touch upon that. apart from whatever Dr. Rajiv has already mentioned, I also want to speak a little bit about the people managers, because in all of this, we while we focus a lot on skills, I feel the role of the people manager, which always was crucial, but in this pandemic scenario, and given the kind of hybrid work culture, new normal, ever evolving normal, there are so many terms to describe this. I think the role of the people managers becomes so crucial, and so their skill set, making them capable, or giving them the ability to handle this changed landscape becomes so important. So things like their empathy, their skills to collaborate with a team which is sitting anywhere, maybe some are sitting in office, some are sitting on the Goa beach, some are sitting in some small remote town. How do you as a people manager engage their entire team together? How do you as a people manager ensure that the team is upskilling themselves and staying relevant to the needs of the organization, to the needs of the business priorities? How are you as a people manager coaching and mentoring your team and guiding them along their career path? How are you as a people manager be able to show the resilience in the kind of difficult situations that we have gone through in the past 2 years, and ensure that you in turn are not passing on that challenge or frustration to your team, but you are being resilient to handle that change and still be able to lead your team to success. I think these are some very, very crucial skills which are becoming very relevant today, is what I feel, Divesh.
Absolutely, very well said, Lekha. And I think I 100% agree with your perspective around people managers really being the first chain in terms of the first link in the chain, who have the most critical role to play in this entire transformation in terms of the work and workplace and everything. Because at the end of the day, they are the ones who have the highest engagement possibility with the end employee, no doubt about it. And obviously their role is going to be crucial. I also liked your point around showing the career path and progression opportunity to employees. There's so much that I've personally seen and read in terms of this particular aspect. Okay, we talk about the Great Resignation, right? Now, one of those aspects within that is in terms of there being a social contract in between the employee and the employer, wherein an employee expects today to really continue enjoying that flexibility that they've seen during the pandemic times, and the fact that they expect, as part of the work environment, opportunities to grow. And having that visibility created for the employee is absolutely critical. And I think it fits quite well into the engagement bucket that Rajiv, you spoke about, right? So definitely quite a synergy in terms of what both Rekha, you and Rajiv you mentioned. Sunny, I'm sure you have some inputs around it. I see you smiling there. What are your thoughts around this?
Thanks, Devesh. So we're talking about this redesigning the composition of essential skills. I want to take a step back and maybe talk about little triggering the context, so to say. Talking about statistics, the way you started, I think 15% of the global workforce, either they are planning to switch occupations, or they are planning to acquire new skills by 2030 with courtesy automation and AI. So I think that is a good context in terms of looking at redesigning the composition of essential skills. But then I think what we are looking at in terms of the complete talent strategy, so to say, where the skill part is again yet to come. Definitely, we have to look at developing critical digital and cognitive capabilities. That's to begin with, and then social and emotional skills, and of course, adaptability and resilience post-pandemic, to be very precise. But having said that, I would still talk about two ways of looking at it. One is you have to look at from a perspective of workplace and industry specific skills. And the second is you have to look at workplace and industry agnostic skills or neutral skills. So these are two perspectives, the way you can look at skills with respect to your industry, organization, workplace. And of course, today we are not talking about soft skills. We are talking about power skills. We talk about tactical skills. We talk about technical skills. But then I think in a lot of ways, it's old wine in a new bottle. But again, if you look at from a perspective of your business model, your organization, and the way it works for you, not on time, what happens is with respect to the growth planning, talent strategy takes a back seat. Not in almost all the cases, but then largely. But then again, what we have to look at is that what kind of skills are really imperative for my organization and my industry. So that is a very basic playground to start with. And then definitely we can always look at embracing, empowering, and extending, embracing the agile mindset, empowering the learners, and extending training or opportunities or intervention to those people in terms of whatever suits that particular business or industry. So that's my viewpoint on this.
No, absolutely. I think, again, very good point around the agile part that you mentioned about, because like we are discussing, it's a continuous evolving landscape. And second, in terms of the, the fact that it has to have that industry specific flavor to support the business outcomes at the end of the day. Because while there are these generic skills which are important and no doubt are going to play a crucial role, that industry specific skill building activity will be important for delivering on the outcomes that the organization is expecting. And that is quite quite something which will remain a focus, I think, in times to come. Interestingly, we've also have the poll results, and it's a very good mix. Actually, it's about 61-39 breakup. So about 61% of the people are working out of home, and almost 40% are now working out of office, which I'm sure is going to start inching up as we go forward. There are so many changes that are happening in terms of the government mandates. We are all now ready to move out and all of those. And I think organizations are also continue focusing on bringing employees back in, which should change that thing. But it's interesting to see that we still have about majority of the people working out of home and working virtually. Great. So Sunny, you spoke about power skills and soft skills, so I'll continue that part a little forward, and maybe I'll go to you, Rekha, this time first. How can the workforce be prepared from a new normal point of view from the lens of soft skills? Okay. And what do you think is the way to thrive in this reimagined ecosystem?
Sure. Divesh, you used a very crucial word, which is reimagine. And, I still remember 2 years back when the pandemic hit, I think this was my mantra. And this is something I must have said this word like zillion times, with my team constantly, that every single intervention, every single practice, every single program, we had to reimagine in the current scenario to be able to, suit and cater to, the new normal or the ever evolving normal. So while standard soft skills like, your communication, team working, all of those continue to be crucial, I want to touch upon 5 skills which I feel are extremely relevant and which I think organizations must really focus on in terms of equipping their employees. The first one is, it's evergreen, and I don't think, and it will always remain relevant, is your ability to learn or your learnability quotient. And I think that is so crucial. They say, you only stop learning when you die. And I truly believe, in that statement, because until the last moment, as human beings, we must keep learning, and we are designed, to learn and keep on imbibing knowledge. And this is so crucial, all the more in today's scenario, because if you look at the landscape around you, and I think Dr. Rajiv mentioned it rightly, skills which were relevant a couple of years back today are no longer relevant. So you're constantly, talking about redundancy. You're constantly talking about, hey, today this is more important or that is more important. If the individual does not have the ability to quickly unlearn and relearn, or learn new things, I think they become redundant. So that is an important one. Digital proficiency, Sunny already touched upon. Sometimes I learn things from my daughter. So she's more digitally savvy than me. And I think, we live in a world two weeks back, I was going through this intensive 3-day facilitation course. And I really had to learn how to facilitate an audience virtually. And believe me, it wasn't easy at all, because you're engaging with the audience, you're using so many different collaboration tools and doing these polls and this and that, and, breakout rooms and all of that stuff. So many things like that, where, you really need to learn what is, relevant today, technology, which is relevant today. The third one, I believe, is equanimity. And why I say that is important is, I think we all have gone through an emotional upheaval in the last 2 years. And, and we don't know what the future holds. I'm being very optimistic, and I hope the pandemic has died, but we really don't know. We don't know what other changes may happen. And if you do not have the ability to rise above the chaos which is happening around you and to handle the situation with equanimity, then it will definitely hamper one's growth. So I think that is a crucial skill which people should have. And finally, career intentionality. And I say this again and again to all my employees. Imagine you are the driver in the seat, in the car, which is your career. You drive it. The organization can only provide the environment. The organization can only provide the tools, but you need to have your career path in front of you. You need to chase it. You need to leverage all the learning tools, all the learning programs which the organization has to offer you, because that choice can only be made by you, and no one else can make that choice for you. So that career intentionality, equanimity, digital proficiency, and learnability. These 4, I think, are extremely, extremely crucial.
Fantastic. I think very well articulated there, Rekha. I love all the points that you made. And I seriously feel it covers a lot in terms of where the focus should be. And I like the last part in terms of career focused learning and all of those. Continuous learning, of course, is again another area which is obviously a must in today's time. And I like your statement in terms of we learn until we die. So a lot of good insights from what you shared. Dr. Rajiv, do you want to add anything to what Rekha just mentioned?
Yeah, no, rightly said. Rekha has rightly covered that very important point. Learning agility, we can say, is that probably the single most important skill which we all need to have. Without that, rest everything is basically have not much value. But coming on your one interesting, I actually recalled one interesting thing is that about the ecosystem. Rekha was also mentioning about that how the trainers or the faculty organizing the meeting, conducting programs in this online mode becomes very difficult. And when we are talking about the ecosystem, trainers or faculties are also part of the whole ecosystem. They are very important part. Probably before pandemic, most likely online training or even virtual ILT was max to max 20% or 30% of the overall training. But now, if not reverse, but definitely this online training programs, whether it is e-learning mode or virtual ILT, 50-60%, I will say definitely programs are happening in this mode. So now the trainers are also a very important part of or important stakeholder in the whole ecosystem. Why I'm telling this, sharing this particular concept is that we are slightly probably ignoring that how much re-skilling is required for the trainer actually. Just think before the pandemic. What was the situation actually? Probably if you imagine a professor, he used to come in the classroom and by his or her sheer persona, he used to engage the people or engage the students in the classroom. Probably out of sometimes social respect also, because he is a faculty, because of his knowledge, because of his sheer presence in the classroom. There are multiple factors actually, I will say. He used to engage. Now, in the online mode, many of these privilege, I will say, which he used to enjoy in the classroom training, that is now lost. So what is the new skill? And he has to engage the people actually. He is like an actor on the film. He has to actually engage the whole classroom by sheer acting. So the acting is, because his whole even the presentation take, his all the learning kits, everything is designed for the classroom. So he has to now not only the subject matter expertise, he also has to engage the classroom by his acting skill as well as the delivery of the dialogue skill. If these two things are missing, then what will happen? No amount of polling system or no amount of Mentimeter actually he is going to engage the class. So this is the ultimate case, I will say, of the re-skilling and even reimagining the whole the way actually training was getting delivered.
Yep.
Just wanted to share this with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it has,
and probably this is the ignored area. I will say it is probably this is the ignored area. It is not much study has been done, while the experience of the learner, how to, and the even the experience of organization also, I will say, is a well studied kind of thing. A lot many report you will find, but how the learner, how the trainer is getting impacted, and what all kind of skills he needs to be put in place.
Yeah.
That probably is still under study, I will say.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Absolutely. I think there's a lot of change which has happened, and then, these changes are across a range of skills, both in terms of functional, soft skills, and all of those areas. So let's again, go back and check with our audience here before I come to you, Sunny, and try and understand, what is it that they see as are the most in demand soft skills for 2022-23, and as we come out of this pandemic times and get back to the workplace. So Soumya, can we have that poll for the audience while we continue the conversation? And Sunny, anything that you would like to add in terms of the skills areas, please.
Yeah, so taking a cue from learnability questions, and definitely I resonate with that, and I would love to add that constant upskilling and digital dexterity will outweigh tenure and experience for sure. And they say it will be in future, but I think the future is here, and it has started happening all across the globe. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. So learnability quotient is not just option, but that is something which has to be there. And like I spoke about, embracing an agile mindset, that is something, because in a lot of scenarios today, you have to change the wheel while you're driving. So you have to make sure that you have that sort of agile mindset in terms of, upskilling, reskilling, be ready with what you want to learn, cross-skilling for that matter. And like I said, apart from embracing agile mindset, we need to have, giving empowerment to the learners in terms of opportunities to how they want to learn. We should, gone are days where you can restrict the learner from learning. But I think given an option of, multiple ways of learning, that is something which we have to look at in the context of empowering these learners. And last but not the least is extending all those sort of platforms and opportunities for those learners to learn whatever they want to in the context of business and organization, like I say again and again. But then if you talk about certain skills which we need to, which I think we must keep it in terms of priority, in terms of the bucket list of those soft skills, is creativity to be one, critical thinking to be the next one, self-management is the third, fourth will be social intelligence, and fifth will be attention management. So these are the things which have emerged in this post-pandemic era, which we must put in the kitty of soft skills for each and everyone across the level.
Absolutely. No, I think very well said. And I see the poll results, our audience definitely seem to agree with all that you have said. Adaptability and flexibility. And I'm reading adaptability being that ability to even continuously learn, continuously, because adaptability and learning go hand in hand, right? Having that flexibility is rated the most. and then followed by emotional intelligence. Obviously, there's so much which has happened. Okay, it's important. Again, if I go back to the first line manager part, Rekha, that you mentioned, emotional intelligence starts at that level, because you spoke about, a manager cannot let his or her frustrations down the chain and all of those. So emotional intelligence are going to be important. There is also a lot of ambiguity, right? We went through a lot of ambiguity in terms of the last 2 years, in terms of what's going to happen, how are we going to manage through this change and all of those. There again, these kind of skill sets to come in very handy. And I think balancing all of these is going to be more important now in the new normal compared to any time in the past. So this is great insight. So let's continue to discuss. I'll stay with you, Sunny, for my next question. In terms of let's go a little closer to what you have been doing at maybe JBM Group. Okay, what are those skills that you and your leaders are focused on? As you move to this, from basically a disrupted workforce to a workplace, to a reconciled workplace, and bring people back to work.
Yeah. So like I said that we have bucketed all these, power skills, essential skills, tactical skills and technical skills, so to say. These are the major buckets where we have put up all these so-called skills in the context of the business and industry. And definitely, like I spoke about these, 5 skills which we need to work on are the ones, and I would love to repeat them in terms of creativity, critical thinking, self-management, attention management, and social intelligence. So these are the areas which are new in terms of the current situation, and we are definitely working towards it. And I'm happy to say that we are, I'll not say experimenting, but try to use all the modes possible in terms of a blending learning approach to reach our learner and make him feel comfortable learning for his betterment and at the end of the day for the organization as well. But then I think these are the areas which we are looking at, which we are putting our focus on. And I think it's a very important aspect of how the promoters, how the people who are driving the organization looking at it. What is the vision to reach, if you have a vision 2025? So it all gets attached to the business strategy or the vision where you want to reach. And you have to align everything, not in terms of L&D strategy, but in terms of the talent strategy with that vision of reaching that goal where you want to come. So we have Vision 2025 and everything is aligned around that and with that. So, we have not left any stone unturned in terms of understanding what will work, what will not, how fast the technology is changing, how fast the innovations are happening in the context of technology, in the context of people. See, because today people are not just talking about money, they're talking about purpose and passion. So you have to make sure that as a employee value proposal also, whatever you are giving to them, definitely learning is one important aspect. And we have to make sure that to give them the best of what is available and which will add value to that individual and to the organization. So that is where, we start with. And by the God's grace, this is how we have aligned, and that is how it is giving us results, proven results day by day. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's very insightful, and I definitely agree with your observation around purpose and passion. I think people are definitely looking at aspects which typically in the past were ignored, but then are very important in terms of engaging and building that kind of sync, okay, and connection with the employees. Yep. So Rekha, how about your experience at RealPage? Where are you focused in terms of the skills, and what are those areas that RealPage is focused on right now?
So Divesh, I think one thing we strongly believed in is that your skill building programs or interventions cannot be generic in nature. It has to be aligned to every individual, because every individual is unique. Every individual's needs are very different, whether it could be technical skills, knowledge, soft skills, and it also goes back to what is their career path. So one of the first things that we did was to focus on a career competency framework, wherein we established competencies and proficiencies for every role in the organization. And then the individual is able to assess, okay, this is where I am at this point in time. And if this is the path I want to follow, it could be, vertical, it could be horizontal, it could be into a different function altogether. These are the skills that I need to build, and these are the competency levels. Then that is then aligned to a learning plan or a learning path, which is unique to that individual. And also it includes an individual training need identification, along with also business need identification. So while at an individual level, there might be needs identified, as a business, depending on what their business goals and focus areas are for 2022, there are also needs identified like that. In terms of the approach, it is blended, like what Sunny also mentioned. And I think that is the way forward, because you really can't look at a one size fits all kind of an approach in the world that we live in today. So it has to be a combination of classroom training. It has to be a combination of simulations, development centers. It has to be a combination of online learning, using different platforms. It has to be a combination of micro learning. So all of these are, experiential learning. So all of these, I think, are various formats which are available today, which I think are extremely relevant. We've also done things like, tech gigs and tech fests and all of that, hackathons and those kind of things. Those are also excellent, mediums for people to learn and collaborate and, get better in their skill sets. So these are all some of the things that, we've been focusing on at RealPage.
Fantastic. And I think that gives me another question for the audience to understand maybe, what is their preferred mode of learning. Obviously, there's so much available today. You can go blended route, you can have it virtually on demand, you can have it in person, the traditional approach, micro learning, just in time learning. There's so many avenues now. So maybe, if I can request, Soumya, if we can run the next poll and try and understand what our audience prefers from a learning modality point of view while we continue the conversation with Rajiv. So Rajiv, obviously at your end, L&T is a pretty mature organization. You have been leveraging most of these formats, almost all, I think, or everything already. So what have been your observation around it, and where are you focused from a go forward point of view?
Yeah. Thanks, Divesh. So I will come back on that the original part from where we started, that bucketing of the soft skills or the skill set actually. So the point here is that I'm trying to make is that we need to see the need of the skill set or the requirement of the skill sets in totality. What is happening across the organization? So what we have done means in the last year, as you rightly said, that L&T is a mature organization in terms of the competency framework and other things. So organization has revisited its competency framework. We have the competency framework for the different level of managements covering almost 31 competencies across the different levels of the management. So organization has revisited all the competencies. Some are fine-tuned, means the definitions are made more sharper in the context of the pandemic and also the changing scenario. And few new things are added. Something like digital mindset as a competency is added. That is more important, because the end of the day, L&T is not especially the part which I represent, is not a technology company as such. It is an engineering and construction company. So we are mostly the user of those technology, all those digital technology, and our role is that to see where we can use those technology in the most effective, efficient, and productive way. So for us, actually, people who are working in L&T, this brick and mortar side of the L&T, the need is that to understand where I can apply those knowledge. While the development part and how it will be achieved is, of course, the job of the technology services and info IT kind of companies. So the digital mindset is the one of the key competency identified for us. So that was plugged into the existing competency framework. While the others, which already Rekha and Sunny has mentioned, like the complex problem solving, the learning agility, critical thinking, those things were earlier also there, but now it is sharpened. The more sharper focus, sharper definition has been provided, and that is used in the assessment center and the development. Actually, we don't call it as assessment center, we call it as a development center, because the focus is on the development of the leaders, not the assessment side of the leader. So those are the things actually that is. So in totality, we have seen that we had a relook on the whole skill set requirement of the employees. And that's why, as you were saying, that's why we have in our offering for everyone different things. For the simulation, there are a lot of simulations program we run actually. If I tell the current data, at least at this point of time, also 200 plus simulation program I am offering to my employees. On the each and every competency framework, Skillsoft is also one of the provider. We have the other course provider also, especially curated program for the different competencies. Then the micro learning separate platform we have actually for the micro learning. Where the reinforcement of the learning happens on a daily basis quizzes are coming. We have our own actually it is a podcast, but we call it as a L&T radio, where the talk from the senior management and anything which is important that get pushed weekly to all the 50,000 plus employees of the Modality. So depending upon the need and the people actually, and who can absorb or take how much actually, because ultimately people are also at the project sites where the connectivity is also many times at the issue. So as per the need, as per the availability, as per the business requirement, things keeps on getting posted. So that is the overall scenario on the skill set. But this is a continuous ongoing pressure, because the revisiting our competency framework, it keeps on happening on an ongoing basis. Last year it was revisited actually.
Correct. And I think with what we started with, the roles are changing, and therefore competency frameworks have to evolve to align with that. And then the learning programs and the paths that we create from a career progression point of view for people also need to evolve accordingly. So in fact, at Skillsoft, just to share with all of you and the audience, we have been doing a lot of work around the same in terms of creating that curated career path based on our research work with Burning Glass and World Economic Forum. Okay, including building an assessment capability upfront, which allows us to understand where the person stands in terms of proficiency, and then curating automatically using AI engines, a path which is relevant for them to bridge the gap, rather than actually giving a one-size-fits-all. And Rekha, you spoke about it, a one-size-fits-all approach where everybody has to go from 1 to 10. Rather, if you are required to do only 3, 5, and 7, you only do that 3, 5, and 7, and certify yourself and all of this. So that's there. Interestingly, from the audience poll as well, blended has come out as the as the first, and almost 50% of the audience actually said that blended is a preferred mode. Okay, followed by, of course, virtual and in-person, which is more or less an equal split. Very little for micro learning, which I can completely ignore. But then blended is absolutely coming out as a way forward. And I think that brings another question to my mind. Okay, blended has been around for so long, but I think it has come to forefront with the pandemic and whatever has happened over the last 2 years. Okay, what else do you think could be the significant trends that we will be seeing in the next 2 to 5 years, maybe in 2023 and beyond? So anything that I'll throw it open to all three of you. What are your thoughts around the trends around learning ecosystem?
No, I think workforce analytics is, definitely has to be there to monitor and predict skills gap. That's something where we should start with. And then definitely in terms of the trends for 2023, diversity, equity, inclusion is there. With a big bang. so to say, in terms of being on that learning front. Sustainability, for sure, is something which has been not there at the forefront the way it has to be, it should be. So I think these are the areas in terms of trends when we talk about are emerging. Have started emerging now, and I'm sure by 2023 it will be full blown in terms of whatever is required to make them shine. Apart from this, I think, like I said, that we have to build an org culture that celebrates growth, adaptability, and resilience. And I see a lot of organizations are working towards that in terms of creating that sort of ecosystem in which maybe an employee or a learner, so to say, survives or grows. So definitely these are some of the areas which are coming up big time. Digital is coming big time. The role of technology is something which people are talking about in terms of trends. And like I said earlier, also it will boil down only to purpose and passion at the end of the day for everyone. So we have to keep a focus on that while designing, anything for talent, anything for learner. That how it is solving the question of purpose and passion. And so these are some of the things which come to my mind with respect to certain trends for 2023. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Absolutely agree. Rekha, you had some point that you
Yeah. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch upon. One is, as organizations and as individuals, the ability to upskill, reskill, transform, given the relevance of new skills or the changing requirements in the environment around us. I think that is extremely crucial. And I'm seeing this in my organization and also in my network. I think people who are ready to adapt, people who are ready to put in that extra effort to learn new skills, these are people who can grow, and change is constant. I think it's now become a cliched term that we keep using all the time, but it is a reality. There is just change happening all the time. And if you are not relevant, and if you're not putting in that effort to upskill yourself or reskill yourself, then definitely you become redundant. Second thing is, so I'm a certified coach, and we do a lot of work with the brain, the way the brain operates. And of course, it's a huge and vast topic by itself, but with relevance to learning and the attention span of a human being in a day, and which can be allocated to learning. So I feel that that's an emerging field where learning programs, when they're designed, and also the transfer of that learning back into your own ingrained habits or your personality or your typical interactions with people, that needs to keep in mind the way the brain operates. And when, as a learner or as a trainer and as an organization, when we keep that aspect in mind, which I feel is extremely crucial, to that extent, the learnability and the learning environment or the learning ecosystem that Sunny was talking about, I think all of these then, become that much more impactful. So these are two things that I wanted to touch upon.
Yep, no, very interesting insight from what you shared, Rekha. And I think you spoke about the brain science part and all of that. So that, I'm personally quite passionate about that. At Skillsoft, we have done a lot of work around brain science to understand what kind of content methodology works best in terms of employee attention, retention, as well as from a behavior change point of view. And I think that's an interesting area where I see a lot of work happening across the industry. So that's a very good point that I would definitely take that up. So Dr. Rajiv, what from your side, what do you see as most trends, that would be coming up and disrupting, or maybe supporting the change, evolution of learning? I would use that way rather than disruption work. We use the disruption work so much. Somebody can put a scorecard, over the last 2 years, how many times we would have used this kind of words like, disruption and all of that. I think it's time to put a little positive twist to it.
probably word of the year or word of the decade, it will become a disruption. Okay, coming on the trend part, while those topics Sunny has also covered and Rekha has also covered those points, like the new topics like the ESG or the DNI, these are definitely things. But just slightly giving a different perspective on this thing, that I feel that two aspects is going to set the trend actually. One is that digital technology, we are seeing all these things, AI, ML, all these things. And second aspect or parameter, I will say, which is going to set the trend is the workforce experience. The experience of workforce is going to be very important in setting the trend, I will say. And this experience is very soon, because of the various reason, actually employees expecting the customer grade of the experiences. The way organization is treating their customers, the way actually they support their customer also, I will say, and then treat their customer. Similarly, employees going to expect those kind of experience from their employer. So let us put one of the word actually, that customer grade of the experience probably employee is also expecting. So these two things, workforce experience and the digital technology, is going to set that trend. And I'm sure very soon you will see that even the training experiences are going to be measured using NPS kind of net promoter score kind of things, which is typically doesn't happen. Most of the training is either we are following that Kirkpatrick model framework, or maybe Peter Phillips framework. Those are the things. But my guess is that very soon NPS is going to become, or even the pulse survey, those kind of probably matrices we will see even in the training field also, because those are the real indicator of the, or one type of the indicator of the experiences. And because we are talking about training and the skill set, so that is the 2 points. Just to conclude on this point, so probably the workforce experience and the digital technology, and these things are actually driving the whole thing, the hyper personalized learning experiences, and then the learning in the flow of work. These things are coming into picture.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. In fact, if you ask me honestly, gone are the days where you can learn everything and go out there and then just perform, right? You have to, it's about, knowing how to solve the problem, or knowing how to learn to solve the problem is going to be the biggest skill, rather than actually, and it's quite iterative, it's quite continuous. You have to keep learning and keep doing. And that is where I think technology has a very important role to play. No doubt about it. So I think these were great insights. I would like to, be a little mindful of time and pick up a few questions from the audience. Okay, and I'm just randomly picking up some interesting questions. I was going through it, and this one is quite interesting, and it touches upon some of the aspects that we spoke about. So a question is around, how do we develop these agile management skills for managers? We spoke about managers being the first line of engagement with the learners, okay, or employees. So how do you develop these agile management skills? Okay, what tools and methodologies can be used for doing that? In terms of improving the managerial skills, frontline manager skills. Anyone who wants to take
yeah. So Divesh, one thing that we are, embarking on, in fact, very soon at RealPage is a very exhaustive coaching framework methodology. Because, we just spoke about the brain and the learnability and all of that. And these are very essential skills, and just, 1 day or a 2-day classroom cannot impart those skills, because you're talking about behavior change. So it has to be a longer term intervention, and it needs to have, a combination of methodologies. So it needs to have classroom, it needs to have self-learning, it needs to have practice, it needs to have observation, it needs to have, someone else, coaching and mentoring them. So it needs to have all of that ingrained into that framework. So that is something that we are looking at to build these essential skills for our people managers.
Got it. And I think there is a very interesting follow-up question to that. While it was not in that order, but I think it can go very well with what you just mentioned, Rekha. We have always heard about these high potential programs, right? Now here, there's a different challenge altogether, right? So are high potential programs then even relevant given that we are talking about, covering a larger employee base, given the entire scenario has changed, right? So what's going to be the future of managerial training and all of that? Can we stick to high potential programs still? Anyone? Are they even relevant? Yeah, go ahead, Sunny.
No, I think we need to understand one thing, that are we even identifying high potentials or not? It starts from there. If we are identifying high potentials, or is it the 50% of your entire population, or there is a process to it, or there's a science behind it, identifying them. And then definitely in terms of a career path for them, an individual development plan for them, it has to be exclusive, because that's how it will you can differentiate the so-called high potential programs. And I think curated journeys for all the individuals is possible. I mean, we can have curations for high potentials as well, and maybe for any other carve programs or any other programs for sure. I mean, there is no necessity of having a linkage of both of them, and they can run beautifully. Like in our organization, we run some MVPs which are based on different methodologies, or a combination of different methodologies for a particular target audience. And so we should know that how we are catering to it, how we are presenting, and what kind of fruit we are expecting out of it. So I think there is no harm having a high potential program, given that you know that what are the outcomes you are expecting out of it, and not just relying on the program, but it has to be entire career pathing of that individual in terms of the entire journey of progression. A development program intervention is one aspect, but are we doing something in terms of their talent management, job enrichment, job rotation, or other aspects of managing their talent? So that's very, very important.
Yep, thanks for that, Sunny. I agree. Rajiv, a quick question. Maybe if you could take it. How do you keep up with the pace of change? There's so much happening, right? And how do you continue to support learning in the organization given the speed of change?
Yes, how to change it so much like omnipresent kind of thing that see the organization, as I'm just thinking while I'm responding, I'm thinking also, see, change is not a one person's actually responsibility in the organization. Everyone is changing. You and me all are changing. It is not something that centrally driven function actually. Change management as a concept, which when we talk actually, that is basically some project, some program which we run. But the kind of change, probably the question is being asked is that because so many changes are happening around that in every aspect of the life, every aspect of the organization, everything is changing. And so each and every person is changing day by day. So it is not a centrally managed function. What is the important point here is that how organization as a whole, or how the leaders of the organization are able to identify the opportunities in this changing scenario, whether change is for me, for beneficial for me, or how I can use this change for the benefit of the organization. That I believe is the bigger question, because see, otherwise all our professionals or people are they are also knee deep in the whole situation actually.
Yep.
So I'm just thinking that probably that is the much bigger question, much larger question, that whether leadership or the management are able to identify the opportunity in the scenario, and if not, then what needs to be done actually.
Absolutely. No, very well answered. I think, Rajiv, I absolutely agree with what you said. And, I think we are almost on the time. So I would like to, then take this opportunity to thank you, Rekha, Sunny, and of course the ETHR team for arranging this. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that's the case with our audience as well. Back to you, Soumya.
Thank you so much, Devesh. I think totally agree that there is so much that we are taking back today. And I wouldn't want to miss this opportunity for saying a heartfelt thank you. So Rajiv, Rekha, Sunny, and Devesh, I think this was the most exciting 60 minutes of a conversation that I have seen. And you will all agree, the kind of questions and the amount of questions that came in are just enormous. So thank you so much. And yes, I would want to also take this opportunity to thank our audience for being so amazing and so interactive throughout. We would like to express our gratitude to Skillsoft and ETHRWorld's team once again, who worked really hard to put this session out. I hope you enjoyed. Do let us know how we fared on it. And I look forward to seeing you again for yet another insightful conversation. Thank you so much once again and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Soumya. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks.
audience.